I'm happy to be up here joined by Kevin Durant and Rich Kleiman, co-founders of 35 Media and the Durant Company.
You know what's annoying though? Because he has one more thing that's like way cooler than all that.
What is it?
Kevin Durant. Like,
yeah, that's right.
I'm saying we're co-founders of a company, but I'm not an NBA player, so. Go on, Rudy, my bad.
You sure? So I'm gonna get right into it. So I'm gonna start with sharing a personal anecdote. Kev, I hope you don't get too upset with this.
Go ahead.
It's a personal anecdote. Remember 2017, you just lost to the Warriors. 2016, you just lost to the Warriors. May, you and I get together after the game. I thought I was just gonna focus on not talking about basketball. And you wanted to focus on talking about Silicon Valley, asking me how it was out here. You'd been following what Andre and I were doing, how it was being surrounded by all these CEOs, innovators, and entrepreneurs. And I was like, wow. First and foremost, like, yo, this dude just told me he's about to sign with the Warriors, right? So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to tell anybody. Didn't tell anybody whatsoever. Didn't want any rumors to get started. And then secondly, it was like, wow, this is a different Kev. The guy that I'd known for a while and spent some time with, I realized that's when you change. And I want you to start out by telling me, like, when you start thinking differently about your business off the court.
Probably about 2015, I got hurt. Basketball has always been my world. I always thought, growing up as a kid, I wasn't going to die until I got to the NBA, or I'm free from all harm and crime and danger and anything until I'm finished playing in the NBA. So that's what my mind was always wrapped around, was basketball. So it stopped, and I had to think about, other parts of my life and what I was interested in and how, what had happened after I'm done playing. That was for the first time I had to face that reality, and it was rough because I didn't know what I wanted to do or what I liked or what type of person I wanted to be or anything. And, I was always on my phones. I'm always into technology. I'm always into what's next, how the advancement of our society and humanity. And, I started to hear about Andre and more guys around the NBA, especially that play for the Warriors, that took advantage of the opportunities of being in the Bay Area. And, so that throughout that whole year, me and Rich were talking about just, investing in companies and what I like to do outside of ball, just everything. And like I said, then that's when I seen you, and all those questions just came out at once, and I was just basically telling you that I was coming to the Warriors. But just the fact that I had to sit down for a while and not think about ball allowed me to think about my future.
That's great. 2013, you signed with Roc Nation, and you were introduced to this gentleman to your left, Rich Kleiman, who started out as your contract agent. In 2016, he becomes your business partner. Tell me about the evolution of your relationship from agent to business partner now.
Well, at that point in my career, I just was searching for some guidance from someone outside of my family. And I didn't know where to turn, and obviously we all admire Jay-Z.
Right.
And, but I didn't know I had a diamond in the rough in Rich when I signed with the company, and we just started to kick it as just boys, just helping me with life in general. And that relationship built, and we just started to bounce ideas off of each other, and we wanted to start something of our own. And excuse me, it just kind of grew from there. Everything kind of happened organically.
That's great. Rich, my guy, you've gone from music executive to sports agent, investor, and now media executive. Tell me about your evolution.
Yeah, I think I'm really a big sports fan. That's like really driven everything I did. So the culture around sports as a kid, when I watched Dr. J play and Michael Jordan, I just thought all of it was so fresh. But I knew really, really early that I couldn't play basketball at that level. You know what I mean? So, but I knew I didn't want to be away from it. I just wanted to be around it. But growing up in New York, the line was so blurry. So when I snuck into Riverside Church to watch basketball players play, I'd be meeting young artists and young producers there too. And that was just the culture around it. So in my mind, I was in sports. Like, I really believed I was in the sports business from the second I started working. I just happened to be working with producers and artists and in the music business first. Because I never loved it. Like, I didn't love the music. I loved the business. I loved the speed. I loved that when, like, Jay-Z walked in a room or these guys walked in a room, to me, they were finally cooler than, like, Dr. J and Michael Jordan. I saw it like that. I was like, that's just as cool as this, but I can probably do that. I can't do this. So I just wanted to stay around it, and music was my first way into it. But that's how I met Kevin. You know, I met Kevin from an artist from DC, Wale, that was friends with him, so I was right. Like, I bet on the fact that somehow it was going to bring me back to where I wanted to be. And I just loved being around talented people and people that loved working so hard at what they did, no matter what was going on in their life. So then Kevin and I connected on that. And then when I had the chance, and it wasn't even a chance, it was just the craving at that point. Like, I had a lot of great artists like J. Cole and Meek Mill and Solange and Wale that have been at Grammys year after year, but that didn't give me that feeling, unfortunately. That being at a game, watching these guys play, watching their practice, being in Summer League. So that gave me that, and then I could still be an entrepreneur and still be a businessman. So that got me excited.
That's how I feel about basketball. You know me.
You hate basketball,
I know,
bro.
I hate basketball. You know that. Well, I don't hate basketball.
I remember the first time we met, I tried to talk to him about basketball. I was just figuring we were all in it. And I'm like, yeah, it's game 3. He's like, what? And I was like, playoffs, man. He didn't even care. He wanted to talk to me about this.
Yeah. So you meet this guy, and you take over his career, and I think you had at the time was a record for a player. I think you had 13 endorsements, and now you have 2, right?
3.
So you obviously looked at his platform and his career differently than how it was looked at before. Tell me exactly how you guys made the transition and what was the switch in thinking, looking at him from an athlete, from a brand perspective as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start from what I saw, but from day one, I did do his contract from day one, but from day one, it's really been about 6 years that we've been all the way in it, right? 2016 maybe is when the title changed, but starting in the beginning of 2013, we were all the way in it on everything. And I just realized that everywhere we went, he wasn't happy doing these commercials. Right. Like, we spent half the time talking about how unhappy we were with the script, how unhappy we were at the time, the people that were telling us, like, nah, Kevin, it's really authentic if we make you 12 feet tall and stand next to a tree. We'd be like, there's nothing about that authentic, and there's no amount of money that can make that work. It all just seemed really bad. Right. And I came from a culture, again, where the person that owned the company I worked at and everybody I aspired to be owned their own businesses and controlled their own creative and did what they wanted to do. So it's the only way I knew how to do it. And I started instilling in him things he was already thinking, things that people like LeBron and Michael Jordan had done and LeBron was starting to do, which was like take all the power back a bit and realize the value. And as soon as I kind of just like gut check Kevin on it, like, yo, we don't have to do this. Right. He'd be like, I don't want to do this. So we just stopped. But he didn't want to not be a successful businessman, and he didn't want to not build a business that his grandkids could have. He just didn't want to do it in the form of having 13, deals that he had to represent and say that, he spoke for and that he used that product. So we really started looking at the blueprint of the people before us that I had been able to work for and people that he grew up idolizing and meeting, and that kind of became like the blueprint. Now, we took a different direction, I think, than everyone else. We have our own strategy, right. But that was the blueprint. That's who we all grew up seeing, was people like that who own their own businesses.
Well, that perspective is really different. You and I always talk about the essence of what a brand really means, right? So tell me, what does a brand really mean to you guys and the essence of what your brand means today? The general athlete and a lot of guys out here, the essence of brand starts with, trying to get as many endorsements as you possibly can, right? The essence of what the brand means to you guys obviously is different now. Can you guys just expound on the essence of what brand really means to you specifically?
I think just for us, it's just mainly just being around good people, for one. I mean, obviously the product has to be something that matches our brand, but just being around good people that had the same vision as us. Just want to create something that's authentic and natural. Right. And we're just try to build from there. I mean, everything is going to take some time. We don't want to jump in and rush into something just because, I have just because of who I am and the opportunities that presented to us. But we want to take our time with everything and realize time is the most important thing we have as humans. Right. So we don't want to waste that on something that is not, to the core of what we want to do. Right. So we start there, and Rich kind of handles the small detail things from the outside.
Yeah, and I think, there's a place for these brand deals. They're important. When a rookie comes out, if somebody's at a certain place in their career, I think they're very important. Those brand deals allowed us to kind of understand where he wanted to grow. It allowed him to grow his portfolio, to be able to get involved in tech deals out here. But at the same time, I think that there's also a place for when a player starts to evolve to a certain place in his life, both on and off the court, that the relationship need to change. And it didn't change so recently. I mean, if you look at some of Michael Jordan's commercials at the end of his career, he's doing some crazy things. Right. And he had been in the league he was Michael Jordan, but it was like he was still doing stuff that creatively, he just showed up and read the script. Right. And I don't know that, but I can imagine that that's the way it worked out. Right. But it shouldn't have been like that, because there's, the platform was getting so big and these brands are becoming so important to athletes that we're trying to grow as businessmen and entrepreneurs, that it just didn't go hand in hand. So I think that there is a place early on, but now that people like Kevin and Andre and Roger Federer and Tiger Woods can do that, then Jaylen Brown can take his deals that he deserves early on, but have it in his mind that as this grows, I'm going to start looking at what these people did the way Kevin did, and start to say, okay, well, now let me start to involve you in what I'm doing off the court from a philanthropy perspective. Let's start going in conferences together and start talking and meeting people. Let's start setting this up, because nobody takes 30-second commercials where you can get your face out there. Let's start setting this up so we can be business partners. Right. So I think that that's like the trend that it's going in, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be in deals together. I mean, that we look at opportunities all the time. It just has to fit the boxes for what we need.
2016, you signed with the Warriors. Tell me, you had an idea of what you're possibly getting to coming out here. Tell me, what does this mean to you? What does Silicon Valley mean to you now that you've been in it?
It was just a place where it's a hotbed for just innovators and creatives, people that have a vision that want to provide something to humanity, and just being amongst so many open people just, opens your eyes to just the possibilities of life. And as crazy as that might sound, it's just being in San Francisco, driving through Oakland, just seeing so many, so much inspiration throughout a normal, regular day that I wasn't really getting. Right. It just pushes you forward as just a man. And I think that's just the most exciting part about it. And then having teammates and players around the league who are interested in tech and being out here as well. So it feels like things are starting to, bubble up for us as athletes, and we're starting to be in different fields and trying to get into different avenues of things, and, to be one of the guys that live here and kind of, pushing that out to the rest of my peers is pretty cool.
What about you, Rich?
I mean, I think like, for instance, we just came from a tech conference in Italy, and the people there we were in over our head in some ways, right? It was really mind-blowing. But I realized that, like, every ego had been checked at the door when we got there, and the conversation was really fluid throughout. And I just feel like, beyond the fact that people out here are actually really changing the world, people say that a lot, but it feels like, for the most part, as soon as we got here, it was like an open dialogue and a real education process. And I felt no shame in asking, like, what something was, and realizing that, like, nobody looked at it as that we were less inclined to do business with them, but that this was like two different worlds coming together, and that we could learn from each other. And it was a really amazing process. And that's why I have people in this room that became like close friends and allies, and as deals were coming in and I was generating deal flow and I was sending to them, in the beginning it felt very odd, like these guys are doing me favors, but really I realized that was part of what the business was, that everyone was really open to everybody's skill sets, and that our ability to generate the deal flow was something that people were admiring, and there was stuff I just didn't know, and I had no problem. And that doesn't exist, at least it didn't for me as much, when we were just doing traditional work. Like we were just working and we were like, okay, Nike deal, contract, we got the car company, boom, we got to do this. Like when we were doing business like that, it just never felt like that.
Right.
It didn't feel like we were growing something and meeting people, and that is really has been encouraged here for us, and vice versa, what we're encouraging people to do with us.
You see the athletes that are here today, and you see the response that we've gotten just doing this conference. Obviously, there's a trend that's being bucked right now. The essence of your relationship shows that that trend's being broken as well, too. What do you think about the traditional agency model and the relationship between, let's say, agents and different guys that are looking to do things that aren't traditional in reference to where it's, branding, marketing, and or being involved out here as well?
I just feel like each player has should set their own path. I think coming into the league, one thing that I don't want to say I regret, but one thing I would do different is I looked at the guys that came in front of me and wanted to do the exact same thing that they did. I wanted the Hanes deal, the McDonald's, the Gatorade, the Power. Like I wanted that stuff just because they did it, and that's what our lane was as basketball players. But I feel like now we can do whatever we want. And we have so many great resources playing in the NBA. So many people watch us play. Social media has allowed us to have our own separate brands as well. So, we kind of push our own narratives as players. And just having that, I think, allows us to just, keep our minds open to just about anything. And, I think all of us are starting to see the power that we have and we're trying to take advantage of it.
Yeah, the biggest thing that we talk about is, taking that level of responsibility, just even having you up here and having you speak about it, it just goes to show, how much you've, like Andre said before, you've done your homework, you're embedded in it. It's your life now. It's much different.
For sure. Like I said, all I thought was, basketball 24/7, and I'm starting to figure that I can't play this game forever. Ironically, I didn't know that until a couple years ago. But to see so many successful NBA players, you hear about so many guys, obviously the Magic Johnsons, LeBron James, but there's so many guys that are successful and can live the way they live now for the rest of their lives and along with their families just because they made smart business moves. And I didn't want to be thinking about that once I retire. I want to make sure I've set myself up at the perfect time. And I think 10th, 11th year in the league is the perfect time for me I focused on basketball for so long and I built up, what that's like. And now I can kind of focus on both and still focus on ball, but still also know that I got a career off the court as well. So, I'm still growing, still learning. And I think being in amongst people like this allowed me to keep pushing.
Rich, you want to expound on exactly if you think, the agency model, the traditional model of representing athletes, is there some disruption there at all? You think it's over? Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I don't think, no, nothing traditional will continue.
Right.
I don't think agencies are going to go anywhere. I just think that, like players, the NBA players are the coolest people in the world, and everyone knows that, right? Like, it sounds really, and I'm just being serious, like, they really are the coolest people in the world, and it's been able to disrupt so much. So because of the NBA, like, a player can't, like, you can't just get to an agency and someone say, come on, man, how am I going to get you a deal? Like, stop, I just got you a contract. What do you mean I can't? I want to be a commentator while I'm playing. I want to be on the Golf Channel. Like, nah, you sound crazy. No, Andre just did it.
Right.
Like, this stuff people are doing now, the agencies are getting really forced to work, in my opinion. And then there's agencies being created, like a Rock Nation. And I'm not just because I worked there, but because it's the right mentality, which is that, like, let's do everything a bit differently. Like, no, it's not true. Like, I see it. There's players on certain agencies that have never spoken to their agent, and that's cool if that's your expectation and that's your relationship. But the ones that want to speak to their agent that can't, that's not cool.
Right.
So I think that's changed. That model of it's changed. And then I think that everyone's open to everything. So think about this. Kevin evolved to be able to see Rock Nation and why that was important in his career. And then we evolved to see that we wanted to have our own Rock Nation or, whatever it is, CAA. Mm-hmm. And we went on our own. But that's really because of people like Jay-Z and because of people like agencies like that and because of Kevin and Andre and these people, that's being accepted. So then like in the middle of the summer, Jaylen Brown's coming to a summit. There were probably not many players doing that a long time ago. So that's changed, that part of it.
What's next for 35 Media and the Durant Company? What's the future look like?
We're doing a lot of content now. We start trying to get this show started with Apple. We're going back and forth with the script. You know, getting into that business is very eye-opening, and I understand how long it takes.
I heard about a new one. I won't release it today about what you're doing back home in D.C. We'll talk about that later, but that's crazy.
Well, mainly just now we're just trying to create content just centered around what I love to do, which is ball, and trying to see how far we can push that. Obviously, continue to invest in companies that we believe in. Just seeing what we can create, man. It's an everyday thing, day by day thing.
Yeah.
We have a really cool we're definitely not trying to create a studio, but then we look up and we have 3 shows sold, one a scripted TV series, one a weekly show that we'll be on and producing, and then there's some that we're just kind of like endorsing in some way and helping where we can. And it wasn't set out to be a media company, so we have 5 projects. We may have none next year. We kind of just, we're really jumped back in on his Nike business because we see the potential for that. And I think let that coast for a while. And that's something that when he retires in 7 years, we should have a whole business, and have people working and having offices in DC that people that he grew up with can design shoes. So we're starting to think about stuff like that. The building is launching in DC in January is the main launch. September is the kind of soft launch for the kids in Suitland. Investing in a bunch of companies. You could tell I worked in the record business because I'm just like plugging everything.
I see that. I gave you the layup too.
Yeah,
I gave you the assist.
You worked in the
music
business too. That's why, or
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot. We have a lot of stuff. I think we're just building honestly, it's tough. It's so tough for us to answer because really just like we're looking at, there's an apparel company we're looking at closely. There's stuff in the QSR world. So we're just building a really cool business, investing in cool things. And we're just in China and brought on a whole new part to what we're doing now. So it's been cool.
That's what's up. What advice would you give to other athletes that are trying to venture into this whole ecosystem that's out here? How would you tell them to best navigate it? Or, they don't have the opportunities. They're not Kevin Durant. They don't play for the Warriors. So, again, what advice would you give them?
Well, come to stuff like this. Andre's always open. I'm sure he's open to talking to a lot of guys. He's a veteran in the league. So how I did it was just networking with people. Sat down and talked to people I needed to talk to and, try to learn as much as I can and just being around the circles. I mean, it's not going to just happen, obviously, but just being in the same environments and, networking and talking to guys that have been in it can help.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think each athlete should really realize their value in their own business. So even within the walls of a traditional agency, I think it's really important to build like a really good infrastructure of your own business in whatever form that takes on, but like some form of structure and accountability and people that care about your brand as much as you do and your career on the court with the chef, with strength training, with your investments, with your brands as much as you do. And it's impossible for an agency to feel that way every day. So you use the agency for what they want, but then I also think that it's really important to have great people that are like surrounding you that are thinking how they can move this forward every day.
Gotcha. KD, what have you learned from Rich Kleiman?
Just simplify life, try to be as efficient as I can and everything. I didn't scale, like you said, just from scaling back from 13 partners to 3. I mean, I've done that in every aspect of my life, from friends to family to everything. Just try to be as efficient and try not to carry as much unnecessary weight as I can.
Rich Kleiman, what have you learned from Kevin Durant?
Well, I just learned that he told you in May before free agency which is like hardly factual, which we'll have to clear up with Mark Spears and everybody here.
Shit, I forgot about Mark.
No way did that happen, but cool. I've learned everything, man. Like, you know, really to have a lot of fun working. You know, like, I definitely made things simple and stuff, but like there's an attitude that he's taken on the last few years in his life, which was refreshing. You know, you get in the grind, and I have 2 young kids and my wife and our business and everything, and it was like he even said to me, reminded me, like, you told me to have fun doing this, man. We gotta have like some fun. It's all not that serious. It's just really cool and creative and inspiring for us. So we want to keep doing that. So we're just trying to have a good time.
Cool. Well, thank
And
you,
I
guys.
learned the Hezzy cross, man. Woo. He thinks I'm trash though.
You playing?
Yeah, I play all the time.
Oh, I didn't know that. You
Let's
didn't tell
wrap
me
this
that.
up.
That could have been a couple. That could have been
It
a couple
sucks
more.
to not be able to talk about
that could
talk
have been a
about
couple more
basketball. I'm sure
questions.
you and Andre are the same. I try to tell him like I play ball this morning, and it's like he doesn't want to hear about me playing
He
basketball.
told me I didn't think you still hoop. That could have been a couple more questions. He told me that, you know. Anyway, thank you guys for sharing your journey with us. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for making the time.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.